Hello, welcome to Real Gardens. It seems to me that just over the last couple of weeks, the garden has turned a corner. Everything is growing really fast, and with all the rain we've had, it's lush, it's warm, and we've got these fantastic colours in the borders. Best of all, we've got these extraordinary long evenings to work in. It's the gardener's peak of the year. This week, Anne-Marie meets Pat the Cab, a London gardener with a weakness for giant ferns. I'm making a new raised bed in Guernsey for Liz Collinette, and Carol is helping Adrian and Debbie bring that wow factor to their patio. Despite having back trouble for 12 years, Liz Collinette has still managed to produce a stunning garden overlooking Vale Pond in Guernsey. This year, she's been improving her back garden with a new Mediterranean sun terrace that she's created from the shell of an old outbuilding. So this is pretty much done, isn't it, Liz?
It is almost.
Surrounded by plants.
Isn't it wonderful? Tropical, Mediterranean.
Where did you get the granite basins from?
A young friend of ours made them, and he's a very skilled granite man.
Made specially for the job?
Made specially for the job.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's really nice, isn't it? Nice and deep for the wine to cool.
So that's it, you were going to put your wine in there, weren't you?
Yeah, right there.
And is this camp system tending to grow up over the top?
It is, yeah. And I reckon that one will go up over the bit of the roof there, I hope, anyway. Nice red trumpets. It should be pretty effective, I think.
So that will give you shade?
A bit of shade, yes.
You're saying this gets too hot, really?
Far too hot, yes.
And you've got your citrus outside.
Impressive, isn't it? I thought I'd better do it quick before you came.
Yeah, I mean, they'll be healthier for it.
Yes. Well, that one's got a nice sort of bloom. That lime looks good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, the lemons, I think it feels it's in with a chance.
Don't worry about that. That'll come back, I bet you. And that pelargonium round there is about as red could be.
That pelargonium is a geranium.
It's a pelargonium as opposed to a true geranium.
Is it really?
Yeah, pelargoniums are the geraniums that are with the fat leaves. Geraniums are the ones you plant out in the borders.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I like it. It's jolly.
Yeah, it is. Good with a brick. And the million bells, you see the little red thing down there? That's pretty. That's only an annual, but it's just nice to have something drooping a bit, isn't it?
So this is completely happy and it's a success story.
I mean, really, it's like an open-air conservatory, isn't it?
Yeah.
But more interesting for me, anyway.
Today, Liz wants to finish improving the view from the terrace. We made a start 3 weeks ago when Liz's son Phil and I cut down the lower branches of her Monterey pine. Her husband Rodney helped us remove the brambly mound of rocks and earth, a clearing job that they've continued since I've been away. Oh, there's been a lot going on.
Phil and Rodney have been really busy over the weekend clearing all the lump of rubbish.
So you've dug all this out, and where are you making the wall?
Well, basically get a curve around here.
Oh, I can see it on the ground, actually.
Yep. And that's the plan.
So you're going to have this swirly bed.
I am.
What are you going to put in it?
It's going to be Chelsea-inspired yellows and blues, it's going to be.
Oh, really fancy.
Yeah, really fancy.
Nice having a son that will come to your beck and call.
Especially one with muscles, isn't it?
Don't know if I can match you for muscles, and I know I can't match you for skill. I'm not very good at this, are you?
Oh, I don't know, nor am I. I'm a complete amateur.
So what's your technique? To make a row of big stones along the bottom?
Yeah, big ones on the bottom. Get a rough, well, pretty good line.
You lay them, I'll bring them to you.
Okay.
This is real Guernsey granite, high-quality rock that was once exported to London to make the steps of St Paul's Cathedral. In Liz's garden, there's been so much rebuilding over the years that we've only had to root around to find stones in all shapes and sizes. With a bit of trial and error, it's a fairly straightforward job to build the wall like pieces in a jigsaw puzzle. The wall will tilt slightly inwards so that as the soil settles, none of the stones are pushed out of place. Once the soil is compacted down at the sides, we can create a handsome and sturdy raised bed.
You're doing well. Lovely. Could you do with some of this to put on it?
Yeah, I think we should dig in lots, because if we do it now while it's empty and we've got the weeds out and no plants, dig it all in, then we can plant really fast.
Yeah, fine.
8 barrow loads of Liz's mixture of well-rotted seaweed and horse manure will improve the soil and get our new plants off to a healthy start.
Look out, Charlie.
Whoa, look at those plants. Fantastic. These are your blue and yellow plants.
Yes, don't they look good?
They're great. They look very healthy. Look at that Aeromuris.
Yes, wonderful. That is very a la Chelsea, that is, isn't it?
The whole place is going very upmarket since you've been
terribly.
to Chelsea.
Oh, so posh.
Do you want to place these out?
Yeah, let's place them and have a look.
Okay, do you have a plan?
No, but we'll know as we go.
I'm gonna go and do some work on my own garden now.
All right then.
Okay.
Okay, see
Thanks
you.
a lot, Phil.
Cheers.
Bye.
The 50-odd plants in this bed consist entirely of herbaceous perennials. They'll range in height from 4 foot at the back down to a couple of inches at the front and are designed to provide a colourful outlook from Liz's new terrace. OK, you happy? Do you want to start planting?
No, I don't. I want to think about it a bit. And not only that, I'm tired.
Well, listen, there's no deadline. We'll be back tomorrow morning,
Okay.
and if you're ready, we'll plant it then.
Yeah, perfect.
OK. But when I arrive back next morning, I'm in for a bit of a surprise. You've planted it all.
I know.
God, what time did you get up?
Well, about 6 o'clock. I got started and couldn't stop.
Yeah, so you've moved things around. I mean, those weren't there, were they? The lavender.
No, I've moved those to another part of the garden.
And that Eryngium
Good
you brought
blue.
forward, yeah, it'd be lovely. It'll love your soil too.
Yeah.
And then yellow coming through.
Aconitum. Yellow.
A yellow aconitum?
Yes.
Ah. So the colours are going to just drift through it.
Yellows and blues just drifting and tootling.
Can't wait to see it. Give it a month or
Exciting,
two.
isn't
It'd be
it?
good. It'd be
It's
fantastic.
really fun. Yeah, wonderful.
But I have to say, the fun I was looking forward to was actually putting them in the ground. I love doing that.
Oh, sorry, Monty.
That's all right.
Oh, I've got another treat.
No, that's
What
it.
about thinning some apples? That's a really nice job.
Quite rank with planting, but yeah, OK.
Not a bad second.
Yeah, do you want that off?
Yes, please.
All
Yeah.
right. How many different varieties of apple do you grow?
About 4 in here, I should think. Not very successfully. Not ideal land for it.
Too dry.
Too dry.
Yeah.
Yes.
But even when it's thin like this year, I mean, look at that. There are
Yeah.
groups of bunches of apples, and what I do is after the June drop, when they tend to form naturally, just go around and thin them out.
Yes.
So we get a nice spacing, the air gets round them, the goodness goes and grows into good apples.
And we get nice big ones.
OK, well, I don't mind doing that. I think it's quite a nice job, really.
Well, I knew you'd enjoy it.
Well, the thing is
It's a
that
treat.
it's a meditative job, isn't it?
It is. It's a gentle job when you're really tired out.
Now, you know, I'm not going to come back for a fortnight.
A fortnight?
Yeah, it is. I'm going to go somewhere else.
Oh, crumbs, Monty. Just when I need some help.
Well, it means there'll be lots of changes to see.
You're right there. There will be. Plenty.
And there's plenty for you to get on in between, isn't
Oh,
there?
yes. I'll have a chance to really have a good go, won't I?
All right, well...
I shall miss you.
Well, that's very sweet of you, and I shall miss you too, Liz.
Oh, how nice.
We're in North London this week, visiting a new real gardener, Pat Wallace and his wife Sandy. He's known as Pat the Cab after 7 years as a London cabbie, and he has a passion for plants. When he's not picking up fares, his cab's often stuffed full of palms.
Waiting for your taxi. Which taxi never come? Waiting for your taxi.
And I was actually at a set of lights one day and a guy got in the back and actually got the door open but couldn't get in because there was so many plants in there. And I did explain that I wasn't working, but he said he was desperate for a cab, so in the end I gave him a free ride to where he was going and he sat amongst the plants.
Pat is a connoisseur of tender exotic plants. His small courtyard garden in Islington is a jungle of palms and tree fern.
The good thing about this garden, it's evergreen. If you have English plants, if you come in October or you come out in January, there's nothing, it's just dead ground. But you come out here, you're on holiday. I'm in Portugal, I'm in Greece, and I can look around and find all them sort of plants. That's the reason for the garden.
But Pat's wife Sandy sees the practical side of creating this urban paradise.
He spends a fortune on these palms. Mind you, he's always down the market and getting them at good prices, but he does spend a lot of money.
Pat's plants are thriving, but they can't be seen to their best advantage. He really needs some design advice, which is where Ann-Marie Powell comes in.
Wow, this is a jungle, not a garden, isn't it?
Well, I've got you here to sort of design it, haven't I? Everyone that comes in says it's a collection, not a garden.
Yeah,
So hopefully we're going to get that sorted.
yeah, because it is almost like being in a nursery, isn't it? Just this row of palms along there.
There's about 8 or 9 varieties in
Can
there.
you talk me through them?
I can, yeah.
Amazing.
This one's a Guadalupe palm,
Right.
and I just like the colour. It's just that
Beautiful.
little bit brighter than most of them are quite dark, but this is quite bright.
Where are you getting all your plants from?
Some come in suitcases when we go on holiday.
Do you?
This one I grew from seed.
Did you
The first
really?
one I
That
grew.
phoenix?
Yeah. I brought that back from Portugal about 15 years ago.
You've got a lot of plants in pots as well, haven't you? Why haven't you put them in the ground?
To get height, really. To pack it out,
It's
to
the
get a
only
bit more
reason.
height, yeah.
It's funny though, because they're just kind of like jammed together, aren't they? And I don't think, because they're along here, you can't really appreciate each one for its own merits. Do you know what I mean?
If I laid them out properly, I wouldn't have half the palms I got.
Right, OK.
I've run out of space. I can only go up now.
Yeah. Oh, and Pat, I love this baby. Brahia armata, isn't it? It's
Yes.
just fantastic.
That's why I bought it, and at night, when the moonlight's out, it's silver.
It's gorgeous, isn't it?
Pat has another great love, his collection of tree ferns.
Well, this is Dickinsonian Antarctica. I've had this about 15 years.
That shuttlecock has just
Oh,
got
it's
a
beautiful.
massive leaf span, hasn't it?
These huge ferns are survivors of the dinosaur era from the rainforests of Australia. As old fronds die off, their remains gradually build up into these huge trunks. Pat also has some rarer tree ferns.
These are Scyphia migillaris, and the problem with these is, if you walk from the top, which just happens to these, they just rot to nothing.
So that's unusual because you're actually taught, I was taught that you actually water them from the top down there, the crown. That's wrong.
Well, I've got a friend that was a park ranger in New Zealand, and he tells me you should never water any of these from the top because it can rot them.
Today, Pat wants some help with the planting job on a larger scale. A monster acquisition waiting to go into the fern-filled section of the garden. But first, if this Dicksonia Antarctica is to be given a new home in the tropics of Islington, it needs a hole.
So why have you put this hole here?
Well, I thought I'd put this here to give a canopy to these to improve their health and growth.
Really?
Yes.
Do you know why I think you put it here?
Go on.
Because it was the only space, really, for it to go.
No, I could have made space. I could have taken another paving stone out. I think we're deep enough.
I'm just going to put some holes in the bottom.
Right, I'll let you do that.
Just so the water can drain away a bit better.
Pat makes his own compost, which produces an evil-smelling fluid, which he uses as a fertiliser.
Why are you wearing these gloves?
Well, there's lots of germs in the garden, isn't there?
Yeah.
I mean, when we put this lovely fluid in, which you can smell now.
I'm not smelling it. I know what's going to smell like death.
Oh, it's dreadful. I'm not quite sure if that's healthy. So I'd rather keep off my hands, my clothes and my food. That's dreadful. Now, if we're not quick, all the flies will be in the hole.
That sounds nice.
Right, now we're going to put a couple of spikes in.
These wooden stakes are Pat's technique for giving the fern stability until the new roots form.
Watch out for your fern at the back.
The 11-foot trunk weighs a ton, so we've drafted in Pat's son Liam to help. This tree fern was allowed to dry out during its long journey, but now it's coming back to life, as we can see from the unfurling fronds, or croziers.
I cannot see anything.
Now listen,
Right.
when we put it down,
Okay.
turn it round.
Better get out of the way.
I don't want to eat it.
Very careful.
Right. Right, we're in.
Oh,
Oh.
right.
No.
Oh, it's pretty good, actually. That is straight that way, but I'm
You
not
think
sure.
it looks better straight or an angle?
Or at an angle, because they're more at an angle in the wild, aren't they? Put it forwards then. So, no, it looks horrible. Just looks awful. Just straight like that
Like
is
that?
great.
Once the last two stakes are in, we pack the hole firmly with compost until the trunk is stable.
Feels good, doesn't it?
Oh, it smells lovely.
Yeah,
That
that's
feels
great.
good. Don't let go. I think that looks good. You must admit, and when you get 4 feet either way,
It's absolutely stunning, actually, isn't it?
I think it really is.
How old
together.
do you think it is?
I was told it was over 100 years, being that height.
Wow.
Tree ferns absorb water over their entire surface. As Pat's New Zealand expert advises, we don't water into the crown to avoid rotting the new croziers, but we do give the trunk a thorough soaking.
What are we going to do next time you come?
Well, I reckon we ought to organise your jungle and move it about and put some things in the pond and really kick some action into it.
No. I think not. I think you're
Why
not
not?
After the break, Carol is helping Adrian and Debbie bring a touch of Chelsea to their Devon garden. Welcome back. Now, I love roses, just can't have too much of them. And the way to keep them going, best of all, is to deadhead them. But you should do it with a pair of secateurs and consider it a pruning job, because when you cut them back, you're going to stimulate more growth. So take it back to the next leaf or leaf bud. Doesn't matter how far down the line you have to go to do that. And that will stimulate the growth hormone to produce more lateral growth. And that's what produces more flowers. If you leave it, you're going to get a leader growing and they don't produce flowers. So if you want more roses, and I want as many as I can possibly get, deadhead with a pair of secateurs and consider it pruning. Now, Carol Klein has gone down to Devon, where Adrian and Debbie are fired with enthusiasm after their visit to Chelsea. Adrian and Debbie's steeply sloping garden overlooks Dartmoor, and they've been working non-stop this year to create a garden worthy of such a spectacular location. They've completely replanted their main bed and created an orchard area. Now, with summer in mind, they want to do something about the patio at the side of the house. They sought inspiration at Chelsea Flower Show, where they met Carol Klein, and the three of them went off to look for ideas for the wow factor that their patio definitely lacks.
Had a fantastic time at Chelsea, didn't we?
Absolutely fantastic, yeah.
The flowers are just awesome.
But the thing we took away from Chelsea was keep it simple. So what we're going to try and do is recreate that and just keep our patio nice and simple, uncluttered, as far as we can. Deb's always says to me, less is more. And I says, more is more. We slight arguments about this, but I know what Deb is getting at, less is more. Yeah, I can see that.
Stand up here, hands behind your back.
The visit to Chelsea has given Adrian all kinds of ideas.
What do you think?
Well, I was going to ask what you have to do to enter.
Oh, no.
Well, I've already got designs.
And some of those designs involve transforming the patio into the perfect place to sit and appreciate the view.
Wow. All sorts of things have been happening here, haven't they? I love this trellis.
Yeah, we've made a start.
I think that's fantastic. And what's that weird-looking pipe?
All will be revealed later.
All bit of a surprise there.
Yes, all surprise for you.
I've dug out that bed there because I really want a smelly garden.
Right. Do you mean a scented garden?
I mean a scented garden.
Shall we go and look at it? You've got quite a lot of stuff in here already, haven't you?
Yeah, well, I love the rosemary and we've got fennel and sage, so I love just sort of plucking and chucking herbs on the barbie.
Yeah, you get marvellous fragrance, don't you, instantly
absolutely.
from them. What's all this stuff you've put on the soil?
Well, I knew you were coming today, so I've spread manure all over this bed, so it's ready for planting.
Well, it's very nice of you, and although I appreciate it, I don't think things like this rosemary would.
Oh.
I mean, the Mediterranean things are used to baking in hot sun, and that's what produces these oils. Lots of these really fragrant plants release these oils when they're hot and dry and impoverished. That's when you get the best fragrance from them.
Right.
So if you're going to have a perfume garden, perhaps we better do something about impoverishing it.
I haven't dug it in, so we can hopefully just
Scoop
drag
it
it back.
And you could go a step further. Do you know any builders up the road or anything who could give you a load of rubble? I think it might be just what they need.
Yeah, I'm sure I could find something to suit.
Right. Adrian and Debbie have been out shopping and found a whole range of fragrant plants. Adrian's also managed to lay his hands on something suitably gritty. Oh, here's the rubble.
All right. This is some of the stuff the builders left over.
Oh, it's fantastic. Looks just right. What is it?
It's 3/4 dust. It's what they used to make cement.
So lots of sand, lots and lots of little stones.
Yeah,
Just
they're all,
perfect.
Yeah, well, I'm going to get on with the painting. Okay?
All right.
All right, then.
We'll do all the hard
Don't dare
work.
watch, no. Bye.
I think we ought to scrape all this muck
Right.
off this front bit first. Adrian's decided to warm up the patio area by painting the wall a rich terracotta colour. Meanwhile, Debbie and I are enriching the back section of the bed by scraping all the manure into it, and we're digging rubble into the front for the Mediterranean plants. Rubble! I think that'll do, yeah? We can see quite clearly we've got this one area that's really well drained for all these things that like it dry and poor and crunchy, and then this other area which is luscious and really well fed and well manured for all those things that like a rich diet. But there's just one thing I noticed. There's this myrtle over here lurking behind the fennel, and that's a plant that really would like to come out into the sunshine.
Right.
So can I have your permission to shift it?
Yeah, let's do it quick while Adrian's not looking.
This handsome Mediterranean plant has aromatic leaves and will produce fragrant, creamy white flowers later on in the year. Now, how about right in that front corner? and just put it there.
Now, what about this dianthus? Yeah.
Dianthus like it alkaline, dry and well drained, so that's exactly what that one's going to get, isn't it?
It smells lovely.
I think that every time you go past, you can just run your fingers through it and smell this gorgeous fragrance.
Oh, lovely.
That looks really pretty there.
It's just at home, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's lovely. Right, shall we do these three Cosmos Atrosanguineus, this chocolate plant? Can't smell it yet, not until its flowers open, but it's going to love this good drainage and this really
Brilliant.
hot, sunny place. It's a bit tender, this plant. It's from Mexico, and it'll make a big plant during the summer, and then it'll have made tubers, and you can store them over winter, and then start it off again next spring.
Lovely.
So you can constantly have a scent of chocolate.
So every time I need a chocolate fix, I just come out here and get my face into one of these.
Right, what's next?
What about the rose going here?
I think that would be ideal. The rose will be happy in the top half of the bed, where we dragged all of Adrian's manure. Exactly what it likes.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas lemon verbena prefers the poorer soil, where it will hold its fragrance throughout the summer. Yeah, I think it'll thrive in a bit of shade, this, in the corner.
It's like lemon sherbet sweeties.
Yeah, but even better.
Oh,
It's beautiful.
Almost finished this wall. What do you think?
hey, looking
Okay.
good.
Really, really lovely.
Oh,
It is.
good.
It makes a huge difference.
Very classy.
Well, I'll just finish it off, and I'll prepare my little surprise I promised you.
Ooh, that sounds interesting.
It does. Come on, let's get on with it. I love surprises. Once they've settled in, these plants will provide year-round perfume on the patio. Adrian's mysterious contribution involves threading pieces of hardwood over the length of copper piping.
Okay.
What's that?
This is my inspiration from Chelsea.
It's a wood pile.
Yes, a load of logs.
I think it's very artistic, but I'm sure there's more efficient ways of storing your wood, aren't there?
It has a little surprise, which I'm just about to demonstrate. Prepare to be excited, ladies. Ignition.
Yay!
Oh, look at that!
What do you think?
Phenomenal! Did you invent this all yourself?
Absolutely. This is on the train on the way back.
I think it's brilliant. To complete the picture, Debbie's got two big ceramic pots that she's planting up with white incaviglia and variegated thyme. The terrace that was once chilly and uninviting is now the perfect place to end the day. Just in time to enjoy the evening sun.
Wow.
Isn't that perfect?
I think we can definitely say wow now, can't
Definitely. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
I always said less is more.
Well, that's it for this week. Next week, I'm off to meet a new real gardener near Huddersfield who's got a tiny garden, but he's also got an allotment, which is just as well because he's got 4 hungry mouths to feed. And Carol is meeting a new real gardener in Devon who has gone there to live the good life. See you then. Bye-bye. Welcome to Real Gardens. Well, tomorrow is Midsummer's Day, but it's not the middle of anything. This, to me, is the beginning of summer. It's full of light and hope and colour. This week, Anne-Marie is starting to turn Pat Wallace's palm collection into a garden.
That's about right.
I'm trying out some unconventional planting techniques with a transplanted Londoner. And Carol is meeting a couple who've moved to Devon to live the good life. Adam Waterman was working at Huddersfield University when he met, married and moved in with Katie, who was a local solicitor, 5 years ago. Since then, they've been propagating like mad. First there was Poppy Anna, then Harmony, closely followed by 2 sons, Seth and Taurus. Since he got married, Adam has become a passionate allotment gardener, with 3 plots, just 100 yards from their semi-detached cottage. In fact, sometimes he spends so much time there that it becomes a bone of contention with Katie.
For the last sort of 3 years, he's been establishing the allotments. And as a consequence, the garden has ended up looking at hideous wreck. Because I used to go in the garden, I used to do quite a lot of gardening. Because of the children being so young and me having to feed the children, etc., I haven't had an opportunity
We'd both like you to be more often in the garden. It's not just you. I would like you more often in the garden, if you pardon the expression.
But Adam would spend more time in the allotment. He's more interested in growing his vegetables than he is looking at flowers, really. I think that's the top and bottom. He doesn't really know his flowers as well, and that's always been a problem.
To appease Katie, Adam has recently concentrated on the front garden. He's put up trellis, installed a Wendy house for the children and laid down decking, and all this while the builders have been adding an extension to the house. Did you lay this decking yourself?
I did, in the last 3 or 4 weeks.
And why have you got a whocking great Wendy house, almost as big as your own house?
We've got limited space.
It's so that the children can come straight from outside one house into their house. They don't have to run up the garden through the rain.
What do you plan to do with the whole thing?
Well, we're keeping this, this is the kids' area.
Yeah.
We're going to have a new bed come under the slide so the children can crash through the undergrowth.
Up here, can we come through here? So we're sliding down the right way into the garden. Boom, down you come. What happens in this space here?
This is going to be a grassy area surrounded by the planting.
What sort of plants?
Plants that would cope with the wind that we get here, because the wind comes straight off the Pennines and hits this side.
And how much say do you have in the layout of this?
Oh, I've had quite a bit of say this year because I did an experiment last year on the garden, which turned out to be hideous. He put everything in pots, so this year I did have some input, and I'm quite pleased with what he's done so far. It just needs to be a little bit more organised, and perhaps we might get there.
I do have a plan.
In your pocket?
In my pocket.
Have you seen this? Have you all agreed all this?
Yes.
Oh, it's very nice. Wendy house, decking, large boggy plants, slide, grass and lilies in the corner. If we start moving things around according to the plan, at least I can get an idea of what it looks like, even if, you know, you're then going to take weeks to plant it. Well, he likes it too. OK, fine. Let's move those lilies.
OK.
Over the next few weeks, I'm going to be helping Adam to create a jungle playground in the front garden. But before finalising the design, it's always a good idea to move the plants about to see how they combine together in their new positions. Now, these squashes look good.
We're going to go along this trough.
OK.
We could put these in if you want. If you fancy it, we can put these in.
Yeah, no trouble at all. I love planting. The squashes are a mixture of edible and ornamental varieties, which will scramble over the trellis and cover it in a dense foliage, with large fruits hanging down over the tunnel. Right, you're going to need a lot of water on this, aren't you? Are you going to mulch them or not?
Yeah, I'll get some compost off the allotment.
Talking of which, I really want to see your allotment. This is all fine and dandy, but I've been dying to go down there.
Yeah, well, you can come along, yeah.
Can we?
Yeah,
okay,
definitely,
come on, let's go there. With a wife and 4 children who are all vegetarians, Adam is keen to produce 90% of the family's vegetables from his 3 allotments. He uses established organic methods with raised beds covered in agricultural paper.
I either plant through the paper, or with potatoes I'll plant underneath it.
Is the whole thing organic here?
Yes, yeah,
right.
yeah.
All raised beds, you never tread on them?
Never tread on them.
And you keep them covered by this paper mulch all year?
Yes, it will last 1 season.
Right. I'm curious to see how Adam makes one of his raised beds from scratch. So what's the process? You double dig that, do you?
It was double dug 2 years ago. Each year it's a question of putting a bit more compost on top and letting the worms do the job, not me.
Well, let's start doing it. So what's the first thing we need to do
We need to mark out the 12 before bed.
All right, OK. Now, how wide do you have your paths?
It's about 18 inches.
Oh, I like the word about.
About 18 inches.
Is that good enough for you?
That's good enough for me. You can be a bit too poncy, can't you?
No, I can't. I can't possibly be too poncy. What do your neighbours think of all this, all the other allotment holders?
A little unconventional.
You're a wacko?
Yeah. Wacko's good.
Right. With the bed marked out, the topsoil from the paths can now be shovelled on. This might only raise the level by a couple of inches, but there is more compost to come. The paths are then finished off with lengths of permeable horticultural fabric to suppress the weeds, which in turn is covered with a layer of bark chippings. Adam has already cut the wooden planks that make up the sides of the bed so that they just need to be screwed together, with a length of leaky hose buried just below the surface, and this will be later connected to a water butt. This is really just composted manure, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, but up here, the ground likes it.
Because it's so relatively light?
Yes, yeah. Right, and then the paper simply sits on there.
And how do you fix it?
All we do is lift the end of that bed. That
whole
end.
caboodle?
Yep, yep.
OK.
That will then lower that one. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'll do the same. Oh.
OK.
And then you just wiggle the bed.
Now, are you convinced entirely by this paper?
Yeah, it's a system I would not change. I might adapt as years go on, but I would do it every year now, yeah.
So what are the virtues?
It reflects light, it conserves moisture. Because it's watered underneath by pipe, it creates a drier atmosphere on top, so the slugs don't like it very much. It prevents weeds.
Fair enough. OK, let's plant into that.
Excellent. Right, these are 2 kales.
Right.
There's a...
Black Tuscan cabbage, that looks like.
Yes,
Have a look now.
Cavallo Nero, yep. There's the Uncle Bert's purple, and then there's a Brussels sprouts.
Now, do you know the difference between a Brussels sprout and a bogey?
Go on.
You can't get a small boy to eat a Brussels sprout. Well, I could never have a no-dig system, apart from the fact that I don't think it works as well as digging. And I, agree to differ with you on that.
Yeah.
I need to feel the soil. I need to dig it. I want that intimacy. I can feel how wet it is, how dry it is.
How many times do you need to know your soil?
Oh, daily.
Daily?
Oh, all the time.
That looks good.
Yep, good start.
To extend his growing season in the harsh Yorkshire climate, Adam recently lashed out £500 on a polytunnel. Oh, it's big, isn't it?
Lovely, yes. Good for out the wind and out the rain.
So you've got the same raised bed system.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as though you've put a bit of polythene over a piece of the allotment, isn't it?
Conceptually, it's not a greenhouse. You grow as you would grow crops outside.
Right, and you've got the same irrigation underneath it.
Yeah, it just connects straight up to a water butt, yeah.
Right. So what have you got in here? You've got a few onions.
A few, yes. These are my Kelsey onions. First time I've grown from seed.
And then you've got peppers and...
Yeah, I've got peppers, aubergines, custom marrows, courgettes, lettuce, corn, carrots.
Do you think you're going to have any problems with this variety of crops inside here with humidity? Hello.
You're encouraging to stay down here, aren't you?
Well, it's lovely.
I thought the whole idea was you're helping in the garden, not in here.
All right, we'll come back up.
Good.
See, we were found.
Yeah, discovered.
Pat Wallace is a London cabbie with a passion for tropical plants, but unfortunately, he's just broken his leg. Which means that his wife, Sandy, now has to do the hard labour in their small Islington garden, and it's currently chock-a-block with Pat's collection of palms and tree ferns. But Pat's stunning plants are not displayed to their best advantage. He's made the common mistake of stuffing his garden full of interesting plants, but without an overall plan. He needs Anne-Marie's help to turn the collection into a garden, even more so now that he's laid up.
Well, I've got to ask, what have you done?
I've done it while I was on the job.
Yeah, like, what do you mean?
No, I was driving the cab, I went to pick a passenger up. I fell up the top step. I took them to work, drove home and fainted.
So it's definitely broken
Oh,
then?
yes, very much so.
Oh, God, well, that's it then. You're not going to be doing any work, are you, for the rest of the summer?
I've got you here and I've got Sandy.
Yes.
I think that'll work.
That's going to be a nightmare.
Lovely.
I'll sit in the chair and direct and you do the digging.
Well, we do have to think about a design, don't we, really? Yeah. Because although you've got all the plants, they've kind of been chucked in,
We have got a design. We've got a plan, yes.
Oh, that's good, isn't it?
What I want to do is cut the shed in half.
Pat's ideas for the far end of the garden include a number of new design features.
Oh, wow, that's nice, isn't it? Have you painted this?
No, I wish I could.
Sandy wants a small terrace with a mosaic floor in the style of a Roman ruin. But first, we need to do some basic reorganisation.
You see, for my money, there's far too many specimen plants just rammed in here. And you really can't see them, can you? I mean, it's just a strip of gorgeous palms. But they're all jostling for attention, aren't they? And you can't see them. I mean, some of your favourite ones have just vanished, haven't they, here?
That's right, yeah.
But where are we going to move them to?
Well, this side has got a lot of plants in I don't like. In a small garden, when something's not working like this, 120 quid, You've got to throw it away.
It's like a tail, isn't it, that?
It's a waste of time, though, isn't it?
It is. There's loads of plants that don't
Same
fit.
as this as well. That doesn't really... I just like the flowers on it, but it don't suit.
Yeah.
We could strip out all the plants that don't work in this garden, and there's quite a lot this side.
What about that area there and around the back of the pond as well? I mean, there's space there, isn't there?
Well, we could get some of the jelly palms over there.
And there's that yucca there, so we're going to
Lovely
poke our eyes out and break our backs.
Really spiky, you've got to be really careful with that one.
But it's a good idea. Just organise it a bit better, eh?
You're on.
Yeah?
We need women in this garden.
Girl power. Go on then.
Step 1 is to be ruthless about getting rid of some of the plants that don't fit into the tropical theme.
Where do you want it?
In the bin. Good. Lovely.
Pat's son Leon has turned up to help us with the painful job of cutting down the Italian cypress. Some of the plants are reluctant to be moved.
Now, we've got to get the stump out of this cypress tree.
While others are surprisingly easy to get out.
There you go, see? Big girl like you.
Look at that.
Not easy.
You need a big girl. You'll be a big girl in a minute. You'll be in the pond.
We've got some space.
I know, it's good, isn't it?
Wow.
And I think we should really hold on to that space that we've got now and start with small plants at the front here and then raise up in height and texture and colour. So we've got a big sweep of plants going up to the Trachycarpus there.
I also think you should have a bend in it,
Yeah.
so we can't see the back of the garden.
Yeah, if we bend the path round so that it's a real sort of arc, so the whole garden isn't just here in your face as soon as you walk in, you won't be able to see to the back. So it's two very simple things, but you'll be able to see things better.
Ready? Lift it straight out, straight. Up.
Now we can get on with thinning out the congested area to the right of the path. This Mexican blue palm was completely hidden, but by moving it across the path, it can be displayed to its best advantage.
That's about right, that's about right. Up.
It's all right for you to say up.
Not heavy, is it?
We're also moving these jelly palms into a new, somewhat hazardous position on the far side of the pond.
Leon, watch the spikes behind your back. Ready?
You got it.
Just watch them spikes, Leon.
Now, with the jelly palms beautifully displayed on the edge of the pond, the final stage is to use some of the smaller plants to reshape the path.
I think the Pittosporum here,
I agree. Would be nice.
I think we'll use the other two, but I'm not quite sure in what order.
This canthus could go about quite tight there.
Get a mix of the leaves.
Yeah.
What about
and
the
then
waggy?
the Xanthidexia could go here and the waggy in between.
How about out a little bit, because we're going to get a curve in the path, aren't we?
Yeah.
Nearly all of Pat's plants are in pots. This means lots of watering, but it makes it much easier to rearrange them.
Worries.
How about the lily?
Xanthidexia, definitely.
And I'll tell you what, I wouldn't mind trying.
There's a space. We could use something
Cycad.
else.
There's a cycad up there, like trying the ground. I've had that about 10 years. That came from Tenerife.
No way.
So I think it's time it went in the
Space
ground.
that out a bit.
Now we're getting towards bendy.
That's much better. Do you
Lovely.
think? Ah, you're starting to get a garden now, Pat.
Yeah, look, that looks really nice. I think we still need a bit more
Space
curve.
there, isn't there?
Bit more curve,
That
yeah.
Guadalupe would really, really pick up
Yeah.
that green, wouldn't it?
That
of the
would, that
lily?
would. Yeah.
Right then.
This is
Girl
lovely to watch.
lifter. Well, you enjoy it.
I am. I'm here, really enjoying it.
So despite Pat's plaster cast, we've managed to make big changes to the garden. We've cleared out the inappropriate plants, displayed the others to their full advantage, and reshaped the path to add just a touch of mystery to Pat's movable tropical garden.
So what do you make of this?
It's fab. So much better. Look at the light coming through.
I just love the way you've got all these different textures and shapes, and you've got all these supporters as well,
Yeah.
really showing off the palms for what they are.
Yeah.
And I love this sweepy path here as well. It's nice, isn't it?
Shall we try it out?
Absolutely.
Come on, girl.
You lead the
Come
way.
on. What a result. He broke his leg, eh?
Absolutely.
After the break, Carol Klein is with a couple who combine their gardening with looking after greedy sheep and affectionate goats. Chris and Bill Skeels are busy creating a brand new garden around their Devon house. They first got together in 1980 in Southend in Essex, where Chris worked as a beautician and Bill was a heating engineer.
We enjoyed what we were doing, we had a good life, just that we wanted something different.
A lot of people think it's a wilderness, but it's not. It's just a beautiful place. At the moment, we feel like every day's been a holiday, don't we?
Yeah.
7 years ago, they bought a pair of unmodernised cottages and several acres of land near Chumley, North Devon. At first, they dreamed of an idyllic rural existence.
We came here thinking that we'd do the house up, didn't we? And we'd have a couple of little chickens and a goat and, you know, and we ended up being sheep farmers. And we haven't done the house up.
Now that Chris and Bill have got to grips with looking after their animals, they've got more time to work on the garden. Bill does most of the building, and Chris takes care of the plants.
I became a gardener when I gave up smoking. I got some seeds, and these first little set of seeds went in the airing cupboard, and they grew. And that was it, I was hooked.
Over the past few years, they've made a lawn surrounded by trees and shrubs on the north side of the house, and recently they started work on landscaping a more formal area on the south side, where they can sit out in the summer. With such a large area to fill, they need masses of plants. Carol Klein is here to help Chris raise her own.
Oh, it's big, isn't it?
It's huge, isn't it? So much to do.
It's going to be a lot of hard work.
Well, it's already been a lot of hard work.
It looks like it.
We've had someone in and we've got a bit of a plan about this, and Bill's been working really hard doing it.
I can see somebody else. I love this change of levels.
Yeah, this is really nice. Bill's just finished doing this. We had no idea it was going to be this nice.
Beautiful.
I'm thrilled with it.
Bill hasn't stopped at the decking. Now he's busy making a plant propagator, a heated box for raised seeds and cuttings.
What do you think of it?
I think it's brilliant. It's absolutely wonderful. I've got one of these, but it doesn't look as posh as that.
This is only decking material that I've used, and I thought it looked pretty on the outside.
What happens then? What do you want me to do?
Well, we're going to lay this in the bottom of the propagator to keep the damp away from the timber. If we could pin it round the sides.
Have you never had one of these before?
Chris, no, she takes them into the bedroom. Above the radiator in the bedroom.
Yeah?
Chris gets very excited about her seedlings.
Does she really? So now she's going to have to get excited in the greenhouse instead.
That's it. Now we're going to lay in 2 inches of sand.
Right. It's heavy, isn't it?
Well, very heavy.
And it's hot. Do I get to play then?
That's it, we play sandcastles now.
The bottom of the box is filled with coarse sand, which will make a bedding layer for a soil warming cable.
Right, that'll do, won't it? Can we put a cable in now?
Right, we'll put the cable in.
This cable, which is thermostatically controlled, will give out a low heat, which will encourage seedlings to germinate and cuttings to form roots.
Keeping approximately 3 inches apart.
I don't know what 3 inches looks like.
Well, that looks like 6 to me.
I never was very good at measurements, never mind.
The cable is covered with another layer of sand. Seeds and cuttings will go into trays on top of this.
Now it looks right for some cuttings, doesn't it?
That looks fine. Well, that's down to Chris. I've done my part. I've built the bench.
Can I go and find her and leave you to tidy up?
That'll be fine. Lovely.
Bill's made you the most fantastic propagating frame, and I think we're duty bound to fill it up. Come on.
To make lots of new plants for the garden, Carol and Chris are going to take cuttings from one of Chris's favourite shrubs in the border alongside the lawn on the other side of the house, this white cistus.
You look at the new growth on this. This will make superb cuttings. First of all, your first thought is for the bush itself. So if you cut down there, you're leaving that bud there, and you're not going to damage that growth that you've left behind. And then we can take 2 or 3 from that. You got your bag?
I've got my bag. If not, they wilt, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
So I prefer this than going down the shops and buying them.
Yeah.
And we haven't taken anything that's got a flower head on it, have we?
No, we don't want any flowering shoots at all if we can avoid it.
How do you know now is the right time to take a cutting?
Cistus work best from softwood cuttings, and that's just what this has got at the moment. Lots of sappy new growth that's very bendy. I think that's just about it. I think we're in danger of denuding it otherwise, and we want to leave it some new growing shoots. Come and look at this. Oh!
Oh.
Do you think he'd make one for me?
Gosh, he has been busy, hasn't he? Really posh.
What kind of compost is this, Chris?
It's a multi-purpose one, but it's peat-free.
Great.
So I'd like to try some things without peating.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd give this one a whirl.
I'm all for that. And you've got a presser board too, have you?
Yeah. There you are.
Wonderful. So if you just cut underneath that second leaf node down, strip the basal leaves, because otherwise they'll just sit and
So that's
rot.
the big leaves?
Yeah, these big leaves that are just above that leaf node. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then nip the top out.
Right. Why?
Because if you don't, even if the cutting produces some roots, it'll just grow straight up. So you'll just get one long tall shoot, and what you're after is a bushy little plant.
Right.
So you always nip the top out of your cutting.
Chris is using a hormone powder which is supposed to stimulate the seedlings to form roots.
I'm going to do a little experiment. I'm going to have half a tray without hormone powder.
Yeah.
And then the other half I'm going to have hormone powder.
Right.
And then afterwards I shall see which ones come out best.
Yeah, provided we remember which way around the tray is.
Well, I'll mark my tray. I always put no H on it.
Oh, do you?
I do, yeah,
Oh.
because I've got such a short memory. Right, and there's my label, no hormone and hormone.
Great. Now I think if we just top them off with some grit.
I've not done this before, so what's the idea of this?
Just to improve the drainage around the place where the cutting hits the compost.
Right.
All these cuttings will be ready for potting on individually this autumn.
We'll have nice warm bottoms in there and they'll root in no time at all, hopefully.
Well, I think that looks really pretty.
It does?
It's probably the prettiest cuttings I've ever took.
Well, we're going now, but next week we'll be back when Anne-Marie's going to be paying her last visit to Mike and Alison in Stockport. Carol's going to cross the county and see Adrian and Debbie in South Devon, and I'm going over to the Channel Islands to see Liz in Guernsey. I'll see you then. Bye-bye. Hello, welcome to Real Gardens. As a gardener, I always feel that summer has three parts. There's early summer, there's late summer when you come back from your holidays, and there's now, midsummer. And it's definitely got its own atmosphere, its own smells, its own jobs, and it's a time of change. This week, Anne-Marie makes her last visit to Stockport and gives Mike a good whacking.
Oh, I love it when you do that.
Yeah, how about this?
I'll be talking about colour schemes with Liz Collinette, and on her final visit to Devon, Carol has at last persuaded Adrian to blitz his buddleia. Adrian and Debbie Taylor have worked incredibly hard this year to improve their Devon garden, even though they both have demanding jobs in the police force.
It really is quite big, isn't it? But it's
When Carol made her first visit back in March, their garden suffered from a lack of planning. The main bed was overstuffed with plants, which Adrian had bought at auction in cheap job lots. Carol suggested a radical redesign that involved repositioning most of the plants.
But each of these things is supposed to represent.
I found Carol quite intimidating at first. I was
Scared?
I didn't know I was scared. I was not scared. I'm scared of things like snakes.
Despite their initial reservations, Carol's plan has worked brilliantly, and the bed is looking better than ever. Carol's also helped them to clear out the leat at the bottom of the garden and plant its banks with wildflowers. On her last visit, they transformed the patio, complete with its own Chelsea-inspired water feature.
It's given us such a huge sense of satisfaction because everything is really coming into its own now. I just can't wait to show it off.
Adrian and Debbie have planned a party for Carol's last visit, but to make the garden presentable, there's one last area to tackle.
This is the area that we need to zap up a bit. It's at the front of the house, it's right on the entrance, and I really, really think that, I mean, first impressions count to me, and we've got these people coming and I want to zap it up a bit.
It's this bed, really. And it's not that it's a real mess, it's just a bit of a mishmash, isn't it?
right.
What do you think we can do? Because we haven't got much time, have we?
Well, we need
quick
some inspiration,
fix.
Carol. These are big bits of granite we found down the reclamation yard.
They look like curbstones.
Yeah, well, they might make a brilliant edging for here.
Yeah.
What do you think?
They would look very dramatic.
Well, this area here we used as a holding bed for when I bought the stuff from the auctions.
I have to tell you, it looks a little bit like that, doesn't it? Especially with the addition of this forest of buddleias here.
Aren't they great?
I don't think they are really. I think, I think
that, Carol.
you know, it really is a question of, you know, inappropriate plants really. Each of those conifers, if you leave it another couple of years, will, you know, fill a huge space, and they'll all just be fighting each other. So it's one of the hardest things about gardening, I think, making that decision to actually get rid of stuff.
I think we need to take the bull by the horns and just get rid of everything. Start with a clean sheet.
You're keeping Adrian?
Am I included?
He'll come in useful for digging out these buddleias, won't he? In true Devon style, the heavens have opened just as we start. But we've got to get on and make some decisions about the fate of these plants. So what about these buddleias, Adrian?
I'm quite happy to take them out and we can maybe think about putting one back.
Right. With deciduous shrubs, this really isn't a good time to move them. But I don't think you'll necessarily lose them if you're prepared to cut them back hard when they're moved.
I know for a fact I've moved buddleia this time of year before, and
you've done it.
You can't say that any of I haven't done a bad job. I think if you take a big enough root ball, I'm not worried about it.
The thing is, though, it's hard to take a big root ball because a lot of them have got long, stringy roots.
Right.
Anyway, come on, put your money where your mouth is.
Let's go.
If Adrian does decide to replant this buddleia elsewhere later, he'll have to cut it right back to ensure that all its energy is directed into re-establishing the roots. It's not the perfect time to move conifers either, but their compact, fibrous roots mean they've got a good chance of survival. Do you want to repot them or something like that?
I think
Definitely want to keep
nice,
them,
yeah.
Yeah. Debbie and I are putting all the plants that we'd like to save to one side. Meanwhile, Adrian's digging up some old memories.
This one I'm particularly fond of because I rescued this one from a building site.
He did too.
Is there a Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Buddleias?
Probably. Maybe I should start one.
And are you its president?
President, secretary, treasurer, yeah, an only member.
As the plant removal goes on, Adrian's techniques are getting less and less subtle. With all the plants out, we're left with an empty bed that slopes down to the house. Adrian and I are going to raise it at one end. So while we go off in search of suitable materials, Debbie wraps up the rest of the plants that we're saving.
Take a couple of those. I shall pick up
Can
these.
you manage 2 of those?
2? I can manage all 5. It's just a case of balance.
Is that what it is? And we know you're very well balanced, Adrian.
I'm not balanced.
Adrian's got some featherboard he's been hoarding that we can use for a retaining wall.
It's good. Another bang.
The idea is to raise the level of the bed at one end and so even out the slope.
Back a bit towards me. That's going to be good.
The layers are built up gradually with the boards overlapping so that the rain runs off the sides.
Wow, that looks really, really good. Very impressed. We've got a hell of a lot to do there, haven't we, before these guests arrive?
We think that the bed at the front can afford to be narrower than it is, so we're using the soil from there to backfill the new raised bed.
This time I'm going to do a quick whiz around the garden and collect a few plants.
Adrian's reclaimed curbstone really smartens up the front edge.
That looks brilliant! I brought some instant impact.
Right, but it's getting terribly late. I'll tell you what, why don't you two just buzz off and get ready and I'll just finish tarting it all up.
Give it a titivate.
Come on, Dad, let's go and have a shower.
With time running out, the long-term plans for this border will have to wait. In the meantime, clever use of some of the pot plants will help create the right first impression for the party.
Wow!
Oh, look at this!
That is superb. Look at that.
You did it. I mean,
Transformed.
it's just temporary and it's just for tonight, but it'll do for then. And then imagine what fun you'll have doing real
amazing.
things.
Looks really, really good.
all right.
First impressions count, don't they?
Oh, don't they just?
Oh, wow, that's...
Wow.
Hi! After all our hard work, it's far too wet to walk round the garden. We'll just have to hope that the guests are overwhelmed by the view from the rain-sodden deck.
Hi! Hi, come
Sorry,
and join us.
I'm no time to change. You'll have to take me like I am, but you used to see me like this.
I'll get you a glass of wine.
What do all you windblown guests think?
Take your pants. I think they're impressed. Well, I hope they are anyway.
Of course they are. How could they fail to be?
Liz Collinette's Guernsey garden is now at its peak. Everything, from her soft fruit to the cabbages in her kitchen garden, is flourishing. But most spectacular of all are the brilliant swathes of colour throughout her beds and borders. Wow, look at those poppies. Those reds are fantastic.
Aren't they beautiful? Only last for about a fortnight.
I wish I had these in my garden. They're good. And even the field poppies next to the opium poppies are a real vermilion, aren't they?
They are.
They're not too orangey at all.
No, they're glorious.
So do these come back this colour every year, the same?
Not always this colour, sometimes a deep mauve.
And you just let it happen?
I just let it happen. I've got a pale pink cultivated one round here. Come and have a look. What do you think of this one?
It doesn't work, does it? I mean, it's
No.
very beautiful. I mean, look in there.
I know, it's stunning.
It's sumptuous. It's like velvet. But you can't have these rich, intense colours with pastels, which to me belongs to a different part of the garden.
I agree with you.
Well, you know what Vita Sackville West always did? She used to cut a flower, walk around the garden with it until it looked right, and then move the plant.
Come on then, let's do it.
OK. Well,
Good idea to cut it at the bottom.
well, that gives us a nice long stem, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Now, you take this and tell me where you
Okay.
think it ought to go. It looked nice against the delphiniums, but they'd all finish at the same time, wouldn't they?
That's not going to do.
So
Yeah.
that wouldn't work. Well, those are pretty strong. It'd be quite nice in amongst these. You see,
They look
that's the
good.
sort of pastel
Depth. Yeah,
association
sort
and
of
the
depth of
nigella
colour.
coming through there and the peter, the
Yeah.
geranium.
Yeah, how about this?
Well, that's in the wrong place, isn't it?
Yeah,
Do you fancy a straight swap?
definitely I do.
Because that would work in your hot border.
It would.
This would work in here.
Yeah, and Bob's your uncle.
Fortunately, both these plants are oriental poppies, which are perennial and therefore will survive transplanting, unlike annual poppies, which will die if you try and move them. Removing the flowers ensures that all the plant's energy goes into root production. Now, ideally, this job should be done at the end of the season, but by then it's often hard to remember the exact colour of the flowers. Right, water you need.
It's like being in an operating theatre,
Well-
this is.
It's a good analogy because everything is going wrong and you're fighting to save it. So just loads of water in the hole. And then I just leave that to drain and then put the soil back in. And then we'll give it more water. While Lizzie's borders might benefit from a bit more colour coordination, there are some areas that need complete camouflage.
Well, Monty, we've still got this ugly area, the ugliest bit of which is this loo.
But handy.
I've got to have it. Can't do without the loo.
So what do you want to do about it?
Well, I don't want to paint it, stick out like a sore thumb. I thought we might just leave it that scrubby colour and grow things over it. And I wondered about having a clematis loo.
Clematis and Guernsey go together. On the other side of Vale Pond from Lizzie's garden are the greenhouses which house the National Clematis Collection. The Guernsey Clematis Nursery is the UK's leading horticultural exporter. 5 million plants are sold from here every year, and we've come to meet the man in charge, Raymond Everson. Now, you've been told about Lizzie's problem with her loo.
Yes.
It needs camouflaging with the clematis. What do you reckon would be suitable?
Well, I think there are several choices, but I think choose an early spring flowering one. The Montanas always do very well here in Guernsey. And then to choose something perhaps a little bit more newer, a bit more exotic, but also that will have a long flowering period. So I think Montana Elizabeth will look very nice, planted at the back of the loo to grow up. And really it can cascade almost over and be trained in.
Now, do you have an example of it?
Well, actually, I can show you not Elizabeth, but one very similar.
OK.
This is Montana Frida. This is a much darker colour. But the great thing about Montana Elizabeth has a lovely vanilla scent. So that paler colour with a nice sort of foliage will be, I think, a very nice foil for Arctic Queen.
Arctic Queen is a stunning double-headed variety.
But isn't that gorgeous?
Beautiful.
had an amazing amount of flowers, and it's still flowering again. It really will flower from May till September. But what you must remember with both plants, they must be pruned hard the first spring after planting. So pruning them down 18 inches or really 12 inches above ground level, that will encourage them to become bushy and well finished at the base. Otherwise, you have a stem and then a bird's nest up at the top.
Armed with Raymond's advice and 2 healthy plants, it's time for both of us to head back to the loo. So, the Montana's going to go around the back.
It is. That's going to scramble over the top. I'll do that. Thank you very much.
The Arctic Queen is going in this pot, is it?
No, it's going in a bigger one.
Right, well, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
And how are you going to support it?
Well, I thought about the chicken wire netting. Got plenty of that.
Point is, chicken wire, you know it'll be fiddly. It'll die every year and you'll have to pull off all the bits.
Well, I shan't. I should just give it a bang and hope they fall off.
Okay. Liz is using a mortar bit to drill the holes and putting in hooks to hold the chicken wire away from the wall, though horizontal wires would work just as well. Then, with the Arctic Queen transferred to a large pot, we just need a good dose of Liz's rich seaweed compost and plenty of water to finish the job. That's fine.
It's fine.
Now, if we just tuck that in there...
OK.
Keep that well watered and that'll be fine. If you have a really hot summer, you might want to put tiles or pebbles on it, something like that. And remember what he said, you've got to prune hard.
I'm going to do it.
Because otherwise what will happen is, you see this so often, you'll have lovely flowers up the top by the roof and a total bare area here.
Yeah.
And
OK.
that, it will defeat the purpose.
I promise.
OK. Well, I'll come back and see, I'm not quite sure, in a few weeks' time.
And then you'll be able to see it flowering.
Brilliant. After the break, Anne-Marie is helping Mike and Alison complete the transformation of their Stockport garden. Welcome back. Well, the foxgloves are nearly over, but if you want to plan how they're going to look in the border next year, you've got to do something about it now. Because like all biennials, you sow seed now, they grow leaves and roots, and then they flower next year. So you need to get onto that time scale. And it's all part of controlling the colour in your borders, whether through wallflowers, Canterbury bells. They're all biennials, and they all need to start life now in a seed bed. And a seed bed can be in any patch of ground. All you've got to do is dig it thoroughly, get rid of the weeds, make sure it's sunny but protected, normally in amongst your vegetables. And then just make a little drill, get a packet of seeds, sow them thinly, and the rows can be very close together. As they grow up, thin them out, and then when you've got a decent plant, transplant them somewhere where they can grow with space, maybe say 6 inches to a foot around each plant. And then when they're really good, healthy plants, without any flowers of course, transplant them in the end of September is a good time, to where you want them to grow, and then that's next year's colour, planned and sorted. Now we're off to Stockport for the last time with Anne-Marie, who's got her work cut out to finish off Mike and Alison's new garden. When Mike Woodall and Alison Buckley first bought their house in Stockport, the garden was a neglected and boggy wilderness. Alison and Mike are engaged and plan to move into the house after their marriage next spring. Ann-Marie Powell first came here in March this year and immediately got stuck in with clearing the mess. Since then, she's helped them to overcome the bogginess of the back garden by building a boardwalk through the wettest part at the bottom. They've also created 2 new raised vegetable beds.
The veg bed, obviously, it was a must for me in my garden with me being a chef. I've got loads of gorgeous red cabbage and some radishes, and I'll show you a radish because we've had some this week. Here. And there's a radish, and there's nothing better than that. That is such a buzz, being able to eat and pick your own vegetables out your own garden. It's absolutely wonderful.
This is our boardwalk, which was suggested by Anne-Marie to overcome the bogginess of the garden at the bottom end. We've had a bit of trouble with the slugs. They decided to eat everything in sight. So we weren't going to put slug pellets down, but I think we're going to have to put some down now.
This will be Anne-Marie's final visit, and it's the top part of the garden that still needs some of her magic. Mike and Alison have already made a good start by installing this path. They've got more help in today from their friend Simon.
What do you think? I love it. I really like this great sweep leading down to those straight lines there of the boardwalk. It's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, it's lovely.
When did you do it?
It was done yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah, a friend of mine's done it. Rob, you'll meet him later. He's coming down.
I love that shaly kind of slate. Is that what it is?
Yeah. Building the path has left the lawn in a bit of a state, and Mike and Alison's friend Rob is going to sort it out. I want to make use of some of the materials left over from the building work we've done. These hazel rods could make a lovely archway, but first I have to persuade Mike.
Things are not going to be quite as pliable as they were when we built these, but it would be really nice, wouldn't it, to get some sort of structure here. So you're really walking into this space here, and it's like making an entrance, if you like. So, remember, I've got some big sticks here, Mike, so you better watch it. I think we should stick them in here, and then we'll bend them around. What do you think?
I'm not happy.
You're just demonstrating.
Yeah, I'm just saying I'm not happy about it starting
You're
there.
never happy when we start off a job.
At the end of the day, I think you wanted it to start here, didn't you, Pet? Look at his face. You're not happy, is he? I wanted them all to be like next to each other. There's no way, Anne-Marie, I'm going to get to my vegetables.
Well, I'll tell you what you could do, actually. You could have a bank of, say, 6 next to each other and then a foot gap. So then you can actually still get through to them.
Thinking about it, we can put, like, your sweet peas, your beans, grow beans up it. Oh, I've always wanted a grapevine, haven't I?
Yeah. That's a good idea,
Could grow a grapevine up it.
Well, it might grow on you, just like the grapevine. Might it, though? Do you think we should go for it, or should we start again?
No, I think we should give it a bash.
Well, that's the difficult bit done. Jamming the hazel poles into the veg beds like this easily secures our uprights. To help make a graceful arching shape, we're interweaving a few lateral pieces and securing them for the moment with garden twine.
Full of bright ideas, they don't always work.
No, surely not.
While we practice our knots, Mike's bunching the poles together at the top.
Top one there.
Ooh, I love it when you do that.
Lovely. Tell you what, for a few leftover hazel branches, that's not bad at all, is it? I think it's good because it really stops this part of the garden here, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It gives you some vertical height, and also you can grow things up at supports. That's 3 jobs in 1.
It's quite sturdy as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good.
The next challenge for Alison and I is to construct a garden seat.
Morning, everyone.
Hi, Rob. How are you, mate?
Mike's friend Rob has turned up with a truck full of turf and topsoil. So while we get on with the bench, the boys will be patching up parts of the lawn.
Right.
The design is simple. We're using 2 logs for each leg, and we've sliced the edges off the logs to make them flat and stable.
Swap them
goes the
over.
other
I'm
way.
going to swap mine around, actually.
Oh, yeah, that's OK.
It's just faffing about, isn't it, for a bit? We're good at that, though.
Yeah, I like to faff.
The scaffolding planks go on top to make the seat.
OK, and then the front one.
Finally, 2 extra logs, 1 at each end, provide armrests.
Well, that's nice,
Yeah,
isn't
it's
it?
gorgeous with that fern. It's lovely.
So now we need to join it all together.
We're using the drill to countersink the nuts below the surface so that they won't stick out and catch our elbows.
Have you seen the size of this? It's the longest drill bit I've ever used. Now, I'm a bit nervous.
We've hired in an extra long drill bit to fix these steel bolts through all 3 logs. Then we simply hammer in the bolts.
You right?
Yep.
Watch your fingers. Marvellous.
An extra washer and nut on the other end of each bolt secures the whole bench together.
Ready?
Yep. Oh, lovely.
That's fab, isn't
Yeah,
it? I
you're
really
impressed.
like that. It's really
it's
good, isn't
lovely,
it? It's
yeah.
just the right height. Can fit 3 people on it. And put your beer on it as well.
Yeah. And I've also got something else. I'll go and get it for you. Shy girl. Now, Mike bought me this when we got engaged.
Really?
Yeah, he took me to the Lake District as a surprise. And I loved it. And then he drove all the way back the next day to buy it for me.
Oh, wow.
So I think she'd look great in there.
Yeah, she would look nice. And she's certainly a contrast to you, because you're not a shy girl at all, are you?
Alison's already planted some shuttlecock ferns. Some people call them ostrich ferns. And these Japanese rosy buckler ferns, which will love the shady north-facing rockery. While she puts the last of them in, I'm helping the boys prepare the old border and the lower part of the lawn for returfing. This was the baldest and most uneven part of the old lawn. These pots of colourful annuals are just what we need to brighten up the new bench. While Alison arranges her display, I get down on my knees to finish the lawn.
You haven't got any ideas for the bald bits of turf that we're not replacing, have you?
Just water it, feed it a bit now, and then just mow it at least twice a week. Mowing does wonders for a lawn, because it just, every time you give the grass a haircut, it spreads out some more, bulks out.
Finally, everything's coming together. The last bit of slate has arrived for the path. The rockery and the bench look great, and we've reshaped the lawn to match the line of the path.
Well, I've been up here a fair few times now to visit you two, and I think we've made a really gorgeous, quirky garden. Do you?
It is, it's gorgeous, it's lovely. I think a lot of people get a lot of enjoyment out of this garden, won't they?
Oh, that's nice. Well, you're going to have to keep the gardening up then, aren't you?
Yep.
To make sure you do. There.
Thanks a lot. You haven't got a lawnmower as well, have you?
That's it for this week, and next week we're going to be taking 3 of our real gardeners to the Royal Horticultural Society's Hampton Court Flower Show. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.